Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. All right, here we are again. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about why do we choose fear and self-pity. Amanda, if you would, tell us our quote.
All right. If the enemy can get you to board the fear train, I guarantee the next stops are Crapville, Stuckville, and NotEnoughville. All fine places to be in self-pity, but nothing amazing happens there.
Yep.
It's funny because I've definitely been in the pit and in self-pity recently. That's why I wanted to talk about this subject today, because it's very fresh on my mind. So that's what we're going to break down a little bit today, is just why we do it and how to stop doing it, getting out of the cycle. And we talked about last week about scapegoats, of why we're not doing our gifts and why we focus on other people. And fear and self-pity is another reason for that. And I didn't want to step into my full calling, this being one of those steps. So I decided, I think I'm just going to create all these scenarios where I can focus on others and also take the self-pity train all the way to Crapville, Stuckville, and NotEnoughville. I stopped at every stop, bought a t-shirt. And at some point, I pulled my head out of my inner crevice. Eventually. And this is why you want to personally grow, you guys. This is why you want to gain tools so that you can pull your own head out. And I know that's a kind of a crass visual, but hey, that's kind of me. So I have a question for you. I really want you to ponder this is, are you committed to being truly happy? Because if you aren't, that is a reason you like to be in self-pity.
Well, and like we said before, it's easier, right? If we're committed to being happy, that might be the harder road and it might take more work on our part. And it's easier to be in self-pity and come up with excuses and create all these misbeliefs like we've talked about. Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah, and it takes you into procrastination and isolation, which isolation is one of my worst self-pity places. When I isolate, no one wants to talk to me. I'm not fun to be around, which creates the cycle of self-pity and isolation. It's like a cyclical cycle. Okay, now my friends are annoyed with me, or, obviously I'm a total drag, so I'm not going to go reach out to people. Hey, you want to be a total drag with me?
Yeah.
That sounds fun. People will leave us alone, so we don't have to be accountable to do anything else. Isolation's great because no one bugs you. A more healthy approach is just self-love and boundaries, so that you can just say to your people, hey, I'm feeling really off right now, so I'm going to go do some journaling. I'm going to take a hot bath, whatever it is for you. Be proactive about it so you can feel whatever is coming up for you, self-honor for yourself, and then you don't have to take the pity train to excuse yourself from being tired or whatever it is.
Well, and talk about Stuckville when nobody is asking anything of you and you're not having to be accountable to anything. Sure, that's great. But to your point, nothing's going to happen there. No progress is going to be made. You won't be fruitful. You won't be productive. You'll be stuck. And I think you and I have both mentioned you can be stuck for decades.
And the need to be right is right swirled into that. That's a whole different podcast as well. But you get to be right that no one loves you. You're no fun. And you turn into this misbelief factory. I just finished a book, old school book, and it was really talking about stop making up misbeliefs. You have to stop your brain from creating misbelief because you will believe everything you tell yourself. So that's why people say stop speaking that over yourself, which is biblical too. Like, I feel sick. Okay, stop speaking that over yourself. Same with misbeliefs. Stop believing those because they will become your truth. Instead, go into what is the truth in this? And the book was talking about a hurtful situation happened and you made a misbelief be like you're not worthy of love or you're not valuable in some way. And that's a misbelief because we all know you are, but it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean I'm not valuable. It was just disappointment. gaslighting. Those misbeliefs run you. You physically believe what you tell yourself. Just like if you say you're sick. Well, okay, do you really want to speak that on yourself? Or do you want to really speak the misbelief that you're a total loser and no one loves you? No, probably not. So this book was talking about stopping the misbelief and actually stating the truth. Yes, that was hurtful that that person did to me, but it doesn't mean I'm a loser and have no friends. It's very simple, but you're still saying that was super hurtful. Well, that is the truth if that's what you chose for it to be. But you also could stop yourself and be like, I don't need to respond to that. That's that person's anxiety today. That doesn't mean anything about me.
Yeah. You don't have to choose to be hurt by it.
But I think we fully choose it. And going back to the original question is, are you committed to being happy? If you're fully committed, then you really wouldn't respond to anything.
I think we create misbeliefs because we don't trust that God is fully in control. And so we try to figure out what's the why behind things. Why did that person hurt me? Or why is this situation happening? So we make up these really terrible lies that we buy into. And it's easier to just, yeah, that's the truth and stick with it.
For sure.
I've been reading about Moses in Exodus. You know, Moses, he killed an Egyptian and then he fled Egypt. And so he could have the whole time became the victim and told himself all these lies that Pharaoh is in the wrong for trying to find him. But, you know, he's the one that committed murder. And so, yeah, I mean, Moses could have continued to just believe lies that he created in his mind, all the while not recognizing or believing or having faith in the fact that God had a plan for that situation. And he knew all along. God knows all along what's happening in our lives, whether we want to believe it or not, and he's in full control. And so when we make up lies or we try to justify a situation, there's really no point in it because, again, God is in control and he's got a plan. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to go murder someone and that's okay and that's part of God's plan and he'll figure it out. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying God knows the situation. No matter how crappy it is, God's there and God's in control and we don't need to make up lies to understand it.
And I feel like God's totally not a God of our comfort. He's the God of our character. That's his interest in us. He's totally fine with whatever swirling around the toilet bowl that you choose to do. And he's going to make good out of it. If you're going to choose a pity party, then we're going to learn something great about yourself. We're going to make this good in some way. And it will build your character. Now, you're absolutely right about this could take 2 decades to get out of the pit and the self-pity. Some people never get out of it. They were raised in self-pity in Eeyorville is what I call it. Just a bunch of Eeyores. Victim stories. If you're dedicated to your victim story, you will be surrounded by people that commiserate with your victim story. Oh my gosh. Oh, Amanda. Oh, I have so many victim stories that if I want to be in self-pity, I just tell them one of my victim stories. And it's like, isn't it horrible? We are going to talk about this in a future episode, but you're exactly where you're at today because of all your choices. So once you realize that, it's super empowering and you'll get out of self-pity very quickly. But going into people that will commiserate with your pain and complaining and be an Eeyore with you. When I do a post on Facebook, I can just tell in the responses that obviously I've said it in a victim way because now I have all these, oh, boo-boo. So I go and rewrite it because I don't want that. There's already enough negative content out there. I'm pretty committed to not doing negative content. So when I see those kind of responses, I'm like, okay, go back and see what the heck I said that created that response, that pity response.
You're not fishing for pity.
Yeah. I like to fish for compliments instead.
Well, you know, I think those same Eeyore people, not only will they help you stay with the negative and support you in that negative thought track and talk track, but they're also the people that won't encourage or do themselves any action to help situations get better. They just expect situations to magically change without putting forth any action. And God calls us to act. We talked about it in our last episode, getting out from the harbor and changing things or just action. I mean, going back to Moses, God asked Moses to lead his people out of Egypt and he pushed back and said, who am I to do that? And I think it's because we don't feel worthy. And God actually got angry. because Moses was not initially willing to step into his gifts and do what God was asking him to do. So those Eeyore friends, or if somebody listening feels like they are an Eeyore, think about, do you also allow that to keep you from act or being willing to act? And what do we think God thinks about that?
That's interesting. I know for sure that negative people, Eeyores, are total takers. They're energy vampires. Sorry if I'm insulting you today. In the personal development world that I work in as a photographer, we call them energy vampires. They just suck the energy out of the room. Any share they make is just so negative and so non-forward moving. This is me and I am not going to move. This is me. And you guys all get to deal with it. This is who I am. It's a total take on the whole room. The whole energy gets shifted in the room. I mean, I do see that almost like a spiritual battle, honestly. There's always a person in every single seminar room that I've been in that is an energy vampire. I personally am praying, shut them up. They're stealing God's movement, really. They're a take on the whole room, possibly finding some healing. It matters. And the Eeyores and the energy vampires are taking from your healing. They're keeping you stuck. I mean, we all have a killer victim story, and it's just there's no life there. There's life in the overcoming and the testimony that you have to share and help someone else who might be going through that, not to commiserate and be like, yeah, that is awful. You should stay stuck and quit on life.
Yeah, to your point, we get to choose how long we want to hang out in those places.
Yeah, like get off the train. You don't have to take it all the way down the toilet bowl. You could still be on the seat of the toilet and just jump right off. You don't have to jump in and get back in the pit. Another thing to think about is if you are a people pleaser or a savior complex, or you need to help people in order to feel validated in life, you really have to be careful about getting pulled into the pit with them. And that's where healthy boundaries come in too, because you could be pulled off track for weeks because you are so beat up from the hell they're choosing into.
Yeah, that reminds me, it's our last episode talking about sucking the zeal for life out of you. You know, you could be doing that to someone else, or someone could be doing that to you. And it's just a back and forth, take.
Yeah. So catch yourself, and there's a way to do it. And you're at a table or any kind of social gathering, you will have the feedback at all times if you're just self-aware about it. Like, who is hanging around you? Because a super positive person does not attract Eeyores. They might come in for a little bit, but you're not responding to their victim story, and you're holding them capable of what they truly want in life. They don't want to hang around you. They want to be in their victim story. It's actually a super fun game to start playing once you're really self-aware, because I'm in rooms that maybe have 100 people in them, and it's super funny. I can tell which energy I'm in on just who's hanging around me. If you're choosing to be insanely insecure, even, you're not going to be hanging around my best personality because it's so intimidating. It's because I'm standing in my greatness and I'm standing in the love that I have for myself and other people. So if you're going to come into my space hating yourself, you're going to be very uncomfortable around me. It's just interesting to think about that energy wise.
It's not to say that we have to just put on a happy face and act like everything's positive and upbeat. You know, you can still talk about real things that are happening in life. We all have them, but reality doesn't have to be woe is me all the time and poor me. You can still talk about things that may not be happening the way you want them to happen without being that really negative Eeyore type person.
Yeah, that's correct. You go back to the original thing. You can tell a story from a misbelief place or from a truth place. Like, I chose to be really hurt today by something someone did, but this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm not going to let it take me out all day. That's a forward moving statement, and it's so real. And your friend can just be like, okay, cool. I'm glad you got that figured out. I even have top facilitators that I used to hang out with would be like, you have 5 minutes to just do whatever emotion you want to and be a total victim about this. And then let's talk about what your solution is. And it's like, dang, only 5 minutes? Okay. Or you have 5 steps and then you can change your attitude. And also, if I'm choosing to be like, take 14 stops on the victim train and the self-pity train, I remove myself from society. I go ahead and stay in my house. Like, I don't need to add to where society's at usually. And that's my integrity for myself. It's like, well, okay, cool. If you're going to choose victim and self-pity, then I'm going to stay stay at home in my bed and I'm going to read.
That's a very responsible thing for you to do.
And not a lot of people do it.
You know, there are a lot of people who love to have that victim story to go out and tell and rake in sympathy and
attention.
Yeah. So those are the people who would not stay home. They would be on the phone or on social media and raking it in.
Yep. And then they realize eventually, hopefully, why am I so negative all the time?
Yeah. And then why are all the people around me so negative?
All my friends are negative. I can't stand them either. Like eventually you get so tired of your victim story, you're just like, ugh, making you sick.
Yeah.
It's making me sick. And that's when you know you're healed in a situation because one, you can pray for the person. That's a huge sign that you're on the other side of the healing. But two, you just don't talk about the past from a victim place. I have many victim stories and I just come at it from like, hey, that was actually my choice to get married to that person. And it wasn't a great situation for me. And I felt very disempowered and I lost my giftings and my drive and zeal for life. And so I had to choose something more life-giving for myself. How powerful is that to say instead of, hey, this is why you need to hate my ex?
Or my ex did this to me. You're taking responsibility for the choices that you made and recognizing the reality of the situation because no matter what our emotions are around it, reality is reality. Being able, I think, to just state that without blame or emotion around it, I think that's a sign of very high emotional intelligence.
Yeah, which I think is very attractive to have a high EQ. Okay, so what are some things that we can do to shift out of pity party land? One of the things I think is recognizing that fear is not a god. It's basically saying to him, I got this. I can do a better job than your plan. I'm self-sufficient and I don't really trust the way you're taking me. Okay, that's one way to get out of self-pity.
I think fear can be so debilitating. And I think about growing up, I had really supportive parents, and they always said, you can do anything. Don't be afraid. You can do anything with God's blessing and God's help. But then the world puts fear in you, right? The world says, who are you? Like, who do you think you are? And I'm better than you. Or you have to have all these material things to be worthy. You know, whatever it is, all these fears that we come up against and we start believing or buying into as we're getting more and more ingrained in the world itself, we need to go back to trying to have people around us that are more like our parents. If you also had supportive parents who will tell us the truth about things, you know, not afraid to tell us when we're wrong or need to be more accountable, but also will lift us up and support us and not try to tear us down and create more fear.
Yeah. The world's fear is speaking to your inner critic and you're choosing that person. And we talked about that last week, actually, is it's your choice to choose to go talk to a naysayer about your situation, or you could choose to talk to someone. Yeah, that was super encouraging to you. I personally feel like you need to have at least one or two friends that you can just verbally process with. They have no judgment. They don't have any answers. Honestly, a lot of times when you say it out loud, you are actually answering your own question. Like, I can't even stand that I said that out loud, is what I say most of the time when I'm sharing, you know, verbally processing. And as a single woman, that's hard because my boys aren't going to be who I verbally process to. So I've always had to have one or two friends that are like, I think you're the bomb and you're still going to rise, you know, just holding that standard for me. Okay, let me be completely victim and suck the air out of the whole entire room, and then we'll just add air back in when I'm done. And they'll be like, okay, I'm holding you fully capable of pulling your own head out.
That's awesome to have friends like that. Yes.
Yeah. Another way that I get out of self-pity is journaling. That's a massive piece for me. It's also where I feel like God talks to me. And just to speak on that, I've had people ask me before, well, I don't know how God talks to me. He's going to talk to you in the easiest format that he can get a hold of you in. And it can change or get expounded on, but he's going to talk to you in your language. Journaling is my way that he talks to me. Several devotions end up being like the same confirmation, like 4 different devotions in one day. And then I'm like, okay, I hear you. Or a friend will say one little sentence that'll be like, yep, that's confirmation for what I already heard. Yep. And that's how you grow your relationship. get closer to God is actually talking to him about all this crap. He already knows you're in the foulest place ever, knows everything about your heart. So you might as well just talk to him about it because he already knows how foul you are.
Even if you're not being truthful with yourself, God knows what's in your heart. So you can try to tell yourself all the lies or justify all the things. God knows. And then I think a journal is going to be more truthful to you than any negative friend that you have. A journal is going to speak back to you. You know, God will speak back to you through that journal. You'll feel it in your heart. You'll know it in your brain far more than the mistruths or misbeliefs that you're going to get from that negative your friend that you seek out. I mean, I'm thankful for our friendship. We are that way. We hold each other accountable. We can call each other out on, you know, hey, maybe we think about this differently, but then we can support each other. You know, hey, you are rocking this with the gifts that God's given you. And that's true friendship.
Yeah, I agree. And I only have room for that.
It's a choice.
Yeah, I choose that because that is so self-honoring to me, being the best me there is. So, all right. So what kind of things should we have them reflect on and journal about this week on this subject?
Okay, good question. This week, take time to journal about what misbeliefs are you believing over the truth. And that could be about yourself or your situation that you're currently in that you don't like and that you want to change. And then also, number 2, can you rewrite the misbelief into a true statement? I would also take that a step further. Can you acknowledge your part in this situation?
Yep.
That's hard to do sometimes. And then number 3, do you tend to catastrophize or awfulize everything?
We didn't really go into that at all, but self-pity is all about catastrophizing everything. So Eeyore. It's like, oh, nothing's great. Nothing's going on well. Like everything in the whole world is going poorly.
And making a mountain out of molehills, right?
Yeah.
Everything is so overblown. And we all know people who do that. It's just so dramatic.
My order was wrong. Everyone hates me.
Yeah, that's so self-centered to think that you're not part of a bigger picture where, you know, that one little thing is not going to throw off the world from its axis, right?
Yeah, exactly. So have a great week, and we hope you take on these things to reflect on and journal on, and we will catch you next week.
Yes. Till then, bye everyone.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at stillwithpurpose.com.